Hi, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com. Today we're going to make a raspberry swirl ice cream, and this is what it looks like. So what we have is a smooth and creamy vanilla ice cream with swirls of homemade raspberry sauce. I really like the combination of a sweet vanilla ice cream with a tart and tangy raspberry sauce. I can't stop eating this one. So we're going to start with our vanilla ice cream, which really is just a custard that we make and then we chill and then we freeze it. Just 4 ingredients. We have our cream, we have our egg yolks, we have our sugar, and we have our vanilla. Not that hard. The first thing that we have to do is to heat our cream. So you will need a saucepan and you will need 2 cups, which is 480 milliliters or grams of, I'm using half and half cream. Now, really all that means is half and half is half milk, half cream. If you can't find it, some people say they can't find that, then what you could use is 1 cup, 240 milliliters of whole milk and 1 cup of a light cream. That gives you half and half. So either way, so pour that in there. I'm going to add just a pinch of salt. Helps with the flavor. And then for the vanilla flavor, you can use like a pure vanilla extract or a pure vanilla bean paste, which is actually what I'm using. But you can also use a whole vanilla bean. And what you would do is take your vanilla bean, split it, scrape all the seeds out, and then add that to the milk or to the cream right now. If you're using the vanilla extract, which I am, I'm going to add that at the end. So now we are just going to heat this up on medium heat just until it starts to foam up. So watch it carefully. And while that's heating up, in a heat-proof bowl, I like stainless steel, you will need 5 large egg yolks, which is 90 grams of egg yolks. That's going to give us that really rich, nice mouthfeel, the egg yolks. And you will also need 2/3 of a cup, which is 135 grams of granulated white sugar. Now, what we're going to do is I'm just using a wire whisk here. We're going to whisk these together until it's all mixed and it's kind of light and fluffy. So a minute or 2. If you don't want to do it by hand, you can just use a hand mixer. Okay, we're starting to foam up, so get that off the heat. You don't want it spilling over. So as you can see, this is my mixture of egg yolks and sugar. Kind of whisks up really nice. So now we are going to add our really hot cream into our egg yolk. We don't want to just pour it all at once. What we want to do is we want to pour just a little, and I'm going to whisk the whole time. And that's going to temper it so that both of them are kind of, the temperature is more equal. So just a little. And then whisk that in. And again, just keep whisking and gradually add the rest, the cream. Now, once you have done this, if you notice some lumps, like maybe a little bit of cooked egg, don't worry. Just strain your mixture back into a pot and then transfer it back to the bowl. So now what we're going to have to do is to cook this over simmering water. So I need to go get my water, so we will be right back. So we are back. I have my simmering water, so I'm going to take my saucepan and put it over there. Now you want to whisk this constantly. I'm going to switch over, stir it, I would say. I'm using a heat-proof spatula. You could just use a wooden spoon. And what we're going to do is cook this until it reaches 170 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 77 degrees Celsius. So if you have a thermometer, you can either use, like I have a digital, my favorite, or you can have just the mercury, either one. If you don't have, you can just stir it until it coats the back of the spoon. And when you run down, it'll really hold the shape. But I really recommend using a thermometer. It's the easiest way. Okay, we are at 170. It doesn't take very long. So I'm just going to take it off the heat. Because the custard was already warm from the cream, so it doesn't take very long for it to get to that temperature. So really, if you took your, see how it holds the line? That's another way of telling it's done. So now, if you didn't use the vanilla seeds from your bean, then you want to use 1.5 teaspoons of either a pure vanilla extract, or I'm actually using a vanilla bean paste. The reason I like a vanilla bean paste, it's kind of the best of both worlds. It's very convenient, like an extract, but it's a very thick mixture, and it has the seeds from the vanilla bean. So it's kind of like a cheat. People will think you used a vanilla bean, but you have the convenience of an extract. So now I'm just going to stir that in, and really, that's it. Not too hard. But now what we want to do is we want to cool this down first to room temperature. I'm going to pour it into a container. And then what we want to do is chill it in the refrigerator. Now you could just chill it for, maybe 8 hours, but my preference is to chill it overnight. So up to like 24 hours. And I find a couple reasons for that. One, it really gets it nice and cold, so then when we put it into our ice cream machine, it doesn't warm up the bowl too much. And two, that time where it chills down, it really develops the flavor and the texture of our finished ice cream. I think it makes a better product. So if you can, wait till tomorrow. And then I'm going to cover it with plastic wrap, let it chill down, let it cool down to room temperature first, and then I'll put it into the refrigerator. Now the other thing I like to do the day before is make our homemade raspberry sauce, because when you first make it, it's kind of more liquid, and I think it, again, like the custard, it does benefit from sitting overnight. I find the flavor is quite tart at the beginning, so 24 hours in the fridge does soften and mellow that raspberry flavor and makes it thicker. So I'll just clean up here. We'll be right back and we'll make our raspberry sauce. So now for our homemade raspberry sauce. It's not hard to make. What you will need is one 10-ounce, which is 280-gram bag of frozen unsweetened raspberries. Now, could you use fresh? Yes, you could use 10 ounces of fresh raspberries. The reason I use frozen is for a couple things. One, available year-round, and two, the flavor's consistent. Like if I go and I buy fresh raspberries, there's typically, at least where I buy them, just in those little plastic containers, they may look gorgeous, but they may have lots of flavor, or they may have like sometimes no flavor. But if I buy frozen, I know they pick them at the prime and then they freeze them right away, and the flavor is always the same. So my raspberry sauce will always taste the same. So that's my reason. So what you want to do though, we want to strain out the seeds. We want a nice smooth and raspberry sauce. So what I've done is I've taken my frozen raspberries, and I put them in a strainer over a large bowl. I did this like a couple hours ago so my raspberries would start to thaw out, so you wouldn't have to wait for that. You could just, pop them into the microwave and defrost them that way. And then what I do is I just press, the spatula, or if you want to use a spoon, you could do that. I just press down to release the juices from the raspberries. Now this is kind of the boring part, I'll admit it. So you want to keep doing this until all you have left is seeds. So it's going to take a little bit. Okay, that looks pretty good. What I often do when I'm doing raspberry sauce is I double or even triple this amount of raspberries, because I figure if it's tedious work, I might as well do it for a while and get it over with. Because raspberry sauce, I mean, you can keep it in the fridge for a week or two, but it freezes really well, at least 6 months. So I often, make a double, triple batch and then just freeze it. And then next time I want raspberry sauce, I can just pull it out of the freezer. Don't have to do this step. So once you've kind of pressed it as much as you think, then make sure you scrape the bottom of your strainer, because there'll be some of that. And I don't want to waste any of this after all the work we do. And then you're going to have to just throw out your seeds. I'll just put this in a bowl. You should have, with a 10-ounce bag, I'm just going to, approximate 2/3 of a cup. So that's 160 milliliters, thereabouts. And now what we want to do is sweeten it. Really, you sweeten it to taste. For this, because I use this, this brand of raspberries before, so I kind of know. I use 1/4 cup, 50 grams of granulated white sugar. You could start with less and then taste, but I'm going to put that because I know that's what I like. And then I like to add just a little, like a 1/2 teaspoon of freshly squeezed lemon juice. It kind of just highlights the flavor of the raspberry sauce. Now, as you can see, it's pretty liquid right now, when you first do it. But I find, like I said, if you put it into the refrigerator overnight, it does thicken. So that's why we're making that ahead. So there we have. I'm just going to try that. Oh. When you use, like I said, the frozen, you really get a tart and tangy raspberry sauce. Now remember, when you first make it, it's going to be more like tangy, tart. Then once we store it overnight, I find the flavor does mellow. So I'm just going to cover that, put that in the fridge. So tomorrow we will come back, we will churn our custard, and then we will layer our raspberry swirl ice cream. So we are now ready to churn our custard that I did let chill overnight. Now for ice cream machines, most home ice cream machines are like this, where you have a big bowl and you put this into the freezer. So I did that also. I put it in overnight so it's really cold, and then you put it right in here. I'm using a 2-quart, which is 2-liter size ice cream machine. I like the larger bowl. I used to have a smaller one. I like the larger bowl because I find that way when I churn my custard at the end, my ice cream is a little firmer than if I used a smaller machine. So you just put like so. And then I'm just going to put my custard in there. The other thing I do is we're going to layer our ice cream with our raspberry sauce, and I'm using a loaf pan. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get this going, and then I'm going to put this in the freezer while it's churning, so that's really cold. So then when we layer our ice cream, so turn it on, and then I just pour this in, and then typically you churn it for 25 to 35 minutes or until it's firm or the base warms up, and then it's not going to get any colder, so you might as well stop. So I'm going to say 25 usually to 35 minutes. Okay, it's been about a half an hour. I think it's churned about as much as it's going to. So, because my bowl is getting warm, scrape this off. Don't want to waste any of that wonderful vanilla ice cream. What's great about this vanilla ice cream, I mean, I'm using layering it with the raspberry sauce. You could use blueberry sauce, strawberry sauce. You know, you could add some chocolate chips to your batter. I mean, it's a really good basic recipe that you can just go crazy with. Okay, so now I have my cold loaf pan, and you will need a half a cup, which is 120 grams of your raspberry sauce. You will have a little left over. Sometimes what I do is when I take out a scoop of my raspberry swirl ice cream, I put some more raspberry sauce. Or you could keep it for another use. You could, like I said, freeze it. I'm just going to scrape the sides. So I'm going to put a third of my vanilla ice cream, then half of my raspberry sauce, and then another third, and do it that way. So it's not too critical. You just want to layer. Let's see how that is. Spread that out, put just a touch more. Like I said, it's not critical. So there we have it. And, you know, roughly a half of the raspberry sauce. Oh. Looks good. I could just eat it right now, but we have to wait. This is the awkward part. It's a little cold. Okay, and put the rest. And now, I think I'm just going to scoop this on here. Okay, that's the last of it. So now, you can just cover it, or if you want to swirl it, you can just take like a knife, or I'm just taking a wooden skewer and just, although I find when you scoop it out anyways, it kind of swirls it, but we'll do it a bit. Okay. What I like to do is take plastic wrap and then press it right on the surface of the ice cream. I find that helps prevent any ice crystals from forming. So as you can see, this is quite soft. We are going to have to put this into the freezer, you know, probably 3-4 hours or until it's firm. I know it's hard to wait, but we do have to wait. So that's what I'm going to do, and then when we come back, we will try a scoop. So it's been about 6 hours. So it's pretty firm if I press it. So it's good enough that we can take a scoop. So see all the swirls of the raspberry and the vanilla ice cream. So let's try some. I'm a big raspberry fan. That is just delicious. You have that vanilla ice cream. It is rich, it is smooth, it is creamy, nice vanilla flavor. And then you just get this jolt of flavor from the raspberries, tart and tangy. I don't know what else to say. It's my favorite. I'll admit it's my favorite. So, I would say once you layer it, it takes 6 to 8 hours to get it pretty firm, or you can leave it overnight. And then make sure when you put it back, press that plastic wrap onto the surface. We don't want any ice crystals. If it gets too hard, sometimes homemade ice cream in the freezer after a day can get really hard. Just let it sit out for, 10 minutes and you'll be ready to go. So it'll store for quite a while, although, once you start eating this, if you're like me, you can't stop. So it doesn't last very long, but you must try this one. And until next time, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joyabaking.com.